Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass. Today we're making a professional chiropractor connection out in Seattle, Washington with Dr. Noel Lloyd. Dr. Noel, can you get us started by just introducing yourself and reflecting on that moment in life when you decided you wanted to become a chiropractor? Where was the inspiration coming from? What was going on in your life? And what was that pivot point like for you?
Hi, my name's Dr. Noel Lloyd. I decided to become a chiropractor at age 11. I was driving home with my father, and I was in a 1955 DeSoto, and I was playing with a hole in the upholstery. And I remember this moment. It was raining. It was dark. It was a later. It was about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Our chiropractor had late hours, and my dad said, "You know, son, you're not too young to think about what you want to do for a career." And I remember thinking, I am too young. I'm 11 years old, and then my dad said, he says, you could be a chiropractor, and I had never thought about it before. I'll tell you a little bit about my history with chiropractic after I tell this pivot story. Um, and he says, you could help people like Dr. Haynes and Dr. Thompson have helped us and helped our family. You could make a good living. And he said, you could be your own boss. And to my dad, all of those things were really, really wonderful. Now, later, almost accidentally, I developed what I call the trifold objective, which is help people have fun, make money. And I judge most things that I do in practice and how I've helped my clients based on the trifold objective. But that decision, it was the simplest decision. My dad never gave advice. My mother always gave advice. And so when my dad said I should do this, it was so simple. I said, okay. And from that point on, I was going to be a chiropractor. And um, that was preceded by when I was 5 years old, I was hanging by my knees from the monkey bars. And I said to my dad, look, Dad, and for no particular reason, I don't know what I was thinking, I just let go. And I went straight down on top of my head. And I was a big kid with a big head. And I crumpled up, basically knocked unconscious underneath the monkey bars for long enough to my dad to start to run toward me. And then I started yelling and screaming like a banshee. And so I had sustained a concussion. They took me to the hospital because I was acting a little strange, and the doctor said I'd had a concussion, but I would be all right. Well, I wasn't all right. I was sick or more sickly for about a year. And my parents had noticed a real health change in me as a result of this fall. Now, remember, I'm 74, going to be 75 in a few months. So this was a long, long time ago, 70, almost, well, about 70 years ago. And chiropractic was not well accepted. There was a chiropractor in our town. There was a lady who cornered my mother in a grocery store and begged my mom to take me to a chiropractor. And so I remember, and I'm not exactly sure if I remember or not, but maybe I heard the story and I remember what I envisioned from the story. But walking up these stairs with my grandmother on one side, my mother on the other side, and we ended up in a chiropractic office. It was just packed reception area. And my grandmother, an evangelical Christian, who, when she saw the cervical spine on the desk and the bones, she said to my mom, she said, Corrine, this is voodoo. And she looked around at the reception area and all the people that were there, and she looked down at me and she said, but if it helps Noel, we'll stay. So I got my first chiropractic adjustment. I don't remember my first chiropractic adjustment, but the family story is that I didn't like it much. And when I got back in the car and my dad drove me home, he noticed the difference. And he said to my mom, he says, I think we've got our son back. And so I was the first member of our family who later, I paved the way for all my extended family to be under chiropractic care and several chiropractors from my family. So that's my decision, and that's what was the foundation of that decision, is my specific health story under chiropractic care.
Amazing story. Obviously, it shaped your life, and it happened at such a young age, which makes it even more special. Can we maybe center our voice on that high school or college student for a moment, and let's just imagine you haven't been in the profession, let's just say for 70 years, or at least engaging with the profession. As a guidance counselor, how would you explain to a student their outlook, or the outlook on this career path, on this calling to become a chiropractor? You talked about helping people, having fun, and making money. Can you unpack that a little bit for the student or the person out there maybe transitioning careers? It's not just people right out of high school and college we're talking to, but that student who's maybe in their pre-chiropractic years, they haven't yet enrolled or committed to this path. How would you kind of set the table or build context for them on what it means to become a chiropractor?
Well, I think that chiropractic is as beautiful as it gets when it's lived out in the lives of our patients. And I was emailing a former associate of mine who is now retiring from his career, and we were remembering a patient of his. And it was a little failure to thrive baby that was in a foster care. That baby little girl had been born to a drug addicted, developmentally disabled woman who was institutionalized. And she couldn't take care of this baby, but this baby was just terribly, terribly sick. And when they tried to feed the baby, the foster mother and foster father, it took two of them. And this baby wasn't quite a year old. And it was like you were pouring hot lead down an animal. She would just spew food and scream and cry. And it was so difficult that they had gotten to feed her every other day because she couldn't take solid food. And this woman was a patient of ours. And one day she just started weeping, and she told the story about this little foster baby that they had. And my associate, Andy, said, took her over to a autonomic nervous system chart, and he pointed to the spine and he said, nerves control the stomach and digestive system. And if there's a subluxation, a misalignment putting pressure on nerves, maybe that's the reason why she can't feed normally and why she's failure to thrive and why every other medical treatment had failed. So we got permission from the state, and Andy did an adjustment on this little baby. And we got a phone call later that night that she ate. And on Wednesday, after a second adjustment, we got another phone call after feeding time. She ate like a pig. And this little one literally grew up in our office. When I say grew up, till about the time she was 2 years old, 2 and a few months. And we would see her, and she became, instead of failure to thrive, she became normal. Instead of being miserable and unhealthy, she was healthy. And I remember this. I remember I was standing in the conversation. She was running around in a little party dress, all dressed up with barrettes in her hair. And I held out my arms to her, and she jumped into my arms. And then I walked right over to her foster mom because she got a little bit nervous. And this foster mother said, do you know why we're all dressed up today? I said, we're going to a party, right? And she said, well, sort of. She's getting adopted today. And I said, well, that's cool. And she said, no, it's more than cool. You saved her life. And if she had lived, nobody would have wanted to adopt a baby like I had before chiropractic care. And I think that if I were to, in fact, I'm going to speak to a whole 100 plus chiropractic students here in a couple weeks. I'm going to tell that story because this is one of the things that we get to do as chiropractors. Every single chiropractor I know who understands the power of chiropractic has dozens of wonderful life-changing stories. People who have exhausted the process with conventional or ordinary medicine and who were just told that they'd have to live with some type of misery or some type of pain or some type of condition, or people who are in the process of having their life shortened. So what I would say to somebody who's a high schooler who's thinking about becoming a chiropractor, you can affect people's lives. What I would say to a chiropractic student is that you can affect people's lives. What I would, in fact, I had this conversation with a guy who was a very, very successful construction company owner, but he just hated the business. And he read my book, The Chiropractor's Guide, and he said, you keep talking about having fun. Is it really, really fun? I said, yes, it's not only fun, but you have such a calling. And he said, if I can have fun, and if I can help people, and if I can make a good living, I would love to be a chiropractor. And I said, I promise you, if you do it right, it's fun. If you do it right, you're going to help people. And if you do it right, you're going to make good money.
Let's shift now to the chiropractic student who is engaging in chiropractic education. Either they just got to school, they're in the process of becoming a chiropractor. What does it look like to do it right? How would you encourage students to approach maybe the supplemental education of how they build skills and how they plan their future practice or plan to go and find their perfect associateship? How do you orient students to the path that's most aligned with their values and their interests?
Well, number one, you have to get your basic sciences. You have to do all of the study and bacteriology and all of the different biochemistry. You have to just be smart enough and diligent enough and industrious enough in order to get good grades so you pass all your boards. It would be heartbreaking to be a great chiropractor, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and then stub your toe on the national boards or some type of board examination. So you've got to be a good student. Number two, when you're in chiropractic college, this is my challenge. In fact, I will challenge the group that I'm going to speak to, is that as you learn chiropractic technique, you could be the chiropractor or the chiropractic student that all the other chiropractic students come to get their chiropractic adjustments. You could be the chiropractor or chiropractic student that people think, well, how do you handle this? Or would you adjust me? Don't take a look at studying your technique as something that, it'll be okay. It'll work itself out. Think of it as if you want to be a world championship tennis player or golfer, or if you wanted to be a world championship violinist, if you want to be a world championship chiropractor, then take a look at technique and learn how to adjust. There isn't anything that serves a good, strong chiropractic philosophy like somebody who really knows how to adjust the spine. I've had young men and young women come and work with me. And every now and again, I'll find somebody who really, really took the technical part very, very seriously when they were in school. And they studied and practiced and studied and practiced and studied and practiced. So really, really get your technique down. Also, I suggest if you're a chiropractic student, even from your first year, that you visit chiropractic practices. There are some chiropractic practices that are just absolutely wonderful to view and to see. You can ask your professors, who's got the best practice that you know? Or if you've come from a particular area, you could call up 3, 4, 5, 6 different chiropractors and ask to come and visit to do what we call a practice shadow. And the people that I know that have the best chiropractic practices, the ones that are really exciting and wonderful to be a part of, they typically are helping lots of people, having a great time doing it, and they're making good money. And so you could go into a practice, and if the energy's off, and if the doctor doesn't seem to like what he or she is doing, and if they're not excited, then I think that you think, okay, maybe this isn't a place like I would like to intern or have my preceptorship. But visit practices, get to know different chiropractic practice. It's like dating, right? So you want to get out there and see what's available in the community. I've spoken to students who said that it was because of their experience with their chiropractor that they decided this is exactly what I wanted to do. My chiropractor was so excited about chiropractic, and I got such a really good result in my chiropractic care, and the practice energy was so good. I think it would be a mistake to go all the way through chiropractic college and to never visit chiropractic practices. Now, here's a way to do it. Get 4, 5, 6 friends together and do a tour. If you go to winwindc.com, you can see different associate testimonies of people who are practicing in practices like this. And there's also a place where if you wanted to get an internship or to be preceptored by somebody who has a practice like this, you could go sign up and you'd get some information on practices like that. So study your basic sciences, study your technique, be really sharp. You're probably going to have to adjust somebody who is interviewing you for a position as an associate. So be the exceptional technician. And then number 3, shop. Make sure that you know what's out there in terms of different chiropractic practices.
Right on. And I think because you've mentioned associates a couple of times and you mentioned Win-Win DC, now's a great time to just explore that concept of being an associate, but also like when chiropractors choose to bring on associates, like how long does that process take to train an associate? What are the main reasons that chiropractors choose to bring on associates? And also like what should somebody look for in an associateship? I think those are some maybe high level, superficial, sort of broader stroke questions to explore right now.
Okay, so let's talk about the chiropractic student who's thinking about interning or associating. Your associateship is dictated by your goals. For instance, there are people that end up taking jobs just because they're desperate and they think that this might be the best money. But if you visit a chiropractic practice and you interview the chiropractor, there's interview questions that students should use to interview a prospective boss on winwindc.com. I have, there's a talk that I did at Parker Chiropractic College, and it's called The 7 Must-Haves of a Great Associateship. And there's a list of questions that you can use in order to interview the interviewer, right? So I would want to choose a chiropractic associateship in a well-run business. I would want to choose a chiropractic associateship someplace where somebody can do training. Now, sometimes doctors who are hiring associates, they can be wonderful chiropractors, great men, great women, love chiropractic, love their team, love their community, but not know anything about developing an associate. And frequently what they do is they say, well, just follow me, watch what I do, and do what I do. But it's my experience that that particular type of training doesn't go that well. Now, one of the things that I do is I train chiropractors to develop associate chiropractors with this in mind. Let's say, suppose that you had a son or daughter that was going into chiropractic and they'll graduate and they're going to associate, but for whatever reason, they can't associate with you or they can't come back and practice with mom or dad. What would you want them to have? You'd want to have somebody who's their advocate, somebody who's on their side, somebody who's got a great practice, and somebody who's willing to train, and somebody who's willing to develop that person. One of the things that I teach in win-win associate development is that if you're the advocate of your associate, if you want to see them succeed, if you want to see them help people have fun, make great money, then you'll put all these tools together in such a way that you'll give them a good experience. And frequently, and I hear this from not only my clients, but I hear this from the associates that work for my clients, is this is just great. I love working. In fact, one associate, his name is Alan, and he works for one of my clients, Dr. Thurber. And he told me initially, he says, well, I'm going to try this associateship out and we'll see how I do. And 3 years into his associateship, he said to me in a time I had seen him after that, I want to work for Dr. Milo forever. And I said, why? And he said, he's on my side. I'm helping tons of people. I'm having great fun. I'm on a great team. I make a great living. He had been an associateship in an ordinary or old school model, and it just wasn't what he was looking for. It was demoralizing. So so that's what I would say to the student or to the person who has the less than inspiring associateship. So look for that. And here's what I would say to the chiropractor who wants to offer a great associateship. You need to first have a successful practice. You need to have what I call a business that's worthy of replication. I had a doctor call me one time, and he said, I want to hire 1 or 2 associates, and then I want to just manage the associates. I said, you don't like practicing? He says, no, not so much. And I said, oh, okay. Tell me, how many visits do you see? And it was a small practice that was barely able to sustain him. And I said, that's not the way you do it. Now, he didn't like my answer. He said, I want to get a couple of associates in here so I don't have to do this. And I was thinking to myself, I said, you have nothing to train on. You don't have a practice that's worthy of replication. You don't have a set of skills where you can take a young chiropractor associate and train them how to do external marketing, how to do great clinical work, and how to do patient management. And what I define patient management is helping to deliver a good chiropractic patient who started chiropractic care through relief, through correction, through strengthening, through supportive care, and into wellness care. So you have to have a certain volume of practice. I'll tell somebody, if they ask me if they're ready for an associate, are you busy? Yeah, I'm real busy. How many patients do you see? And it's a good number. And I'll say, yeah, you are busy. Um, do you love practice? Yeah, I just think it's great, but I need some help. And so that doctor, I can teach that doctor how to package up what they do and train an associate. I can teach them how to find the right associate, how to find somebody who's temperamentally matched for them, how to find somebody who has the right work ethic, and how to train that person so that they have a really, really good relationship. I've got gobs of people that I've helped to do that who have wonderful multiple doctor offices that work like a co-op and have really, really good energy.
Yeah, you see a trend these days in healthcare of multi-doctor offices. It could be interdisciplinary or it could be multiple chiropractors. I'm curious, just from your vantage point, does it I guess build context, having been in observing the profession for the last couple decades, of what the trends are in chiropractic practice? Does it make more sense to join a pre-existing practice that is strong and healthy as opposed to going out and trying to start your own practice? Does it ever truly make sense for you to promote a student to start their own practice? Like, what are the unique scenarios when somebody should consider starting their own practice right out of school? Or do you feel like everybody should be looking for that win-win right out of school just to gather some momentum and traction?
Well, some people are very, very strong in terms of what they want, what they know. They're a high leader type of personality. That person has already planned they're going to be in their own practice. Now, a practice, chiropractic practice, is a small business that delivers chiropractic care. The business has to survive in order for you to be able to deliver chiropractic care. I think we all know about the bakery where they had the absolutely wonderful baker that went out of business because the bakery business is different than baking, or the dry cleaner or some other business. So you might be an absolutely wonderful chiropractor, but what you know about the business side is really not good enough yet in order to be in your own practice. So with my associates, and I've had over 70 plus associates, as I ask them, so what would you like to do? Would you like to learn and stay? Would you like to learn and leave? Would you like to learn and do a clinic with me? Would you like to be maybe even learn and buy? And so I teach my clients that all of those alternatives, or excuse me, a number of those alternatives would be acceptable. For instance, I have some people who are young men, young women, they've got great practices, they want to bring associates in. And if an associate says, I want to be with you for 3 years, I want to learn what you do, I want to replicate your success, I want to learn how to manage patients, I want to learn how to do my marketing, and then I want to go out on my own, okay, great. It's going to take about 2 or 3 years to do that. And so we have people do that all the time. I think today, one of the things that we're seeing is that 50+% of chiropractic students are young women. And most young women, according to my clients who are women, is they want to also be wives and moms. And frequently, if somebody can provide an opportunity for them to help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, make great money, without having to take care of all the business aspects of it, that they're frequently pleased that they can focus on their family and their practice without having to handle the business. But I know that's also true for some young men that I've talked to. And I've talked to people who said, I love chiropractic, I love taking care of patients, I just don't like the business part. Now, there's some people that are particularly gifted at the business part, or people who are gifted and develop skills. That's one of the things that I help chiropractors with, is the skill of not only running the business, but also running a training center for associates. So if you feel like you have to be in your own place and you already know enough to start, be careful. Go in on economically. I'll give you a way that this worked really, really nicely for one of my clients. He graduated from chiropractic college. He did a short internship where he got a lot of technique experience, and he wanted to be in his own practice. He became an independent contractor. An independent contractor agreed to share, his host agreed to share space with him. And he called me up and he says, I want help in developing my practice. So our goal from the start of our relationship was that we were going to grow to the point where that one facility couldn't hold both practices. And he actually eclipsed the practice of his host. And the host came to him and said, there's just not room enough for both of us. Well, at that point in time, being an independent contractor with no contractual obligation, like a covenant not to compete or to leave the patients behind, he just moved a short distance and took the practice that was already well established. He developed his skills. So that's a way that you can do that. If you want to come out fresh out of the egg and go into practice, is become an independent contractor. But I think until you know how to manage patients and you really get your technique ironed out, and you have somebody who can help you learn about the business of the chiropractic practice, that most people should associate.
I hear you. No, I'm not saying that the majority are coming out ready to start their own practice, but I definitely know that the vast majority of students, I actually teach adjunct faculty at Life West just 2 hours a week, but a lot of the students are planning to do associateships, but they're not even clear on what techniques they're interested in practicing when they get out of school, and they're already entering into clinic. So there's just a lot that needs to take place in that last year of school, like learning what it's like to take care of people in the real world, learning how they like to practice, and then being able to also see, what that next step looks like. Their exit strategy from school is like, where am I going? What am I doing once I get out? I'm just curious, from your vantage point, just to fill you in a little bit on my vision for the pre-chiropractic program that I've been designing, is stage 4 is start your own pre-chiropractic club on your college campus. I'm hoping that we can design this in a way that it's as real to life as starting your own practice, or at least entering into the real world where there's a exchange of money for services or products, and we can get students that confidence that's needed for them to not only start a new thing on their campus, which is a pre-chiro club, but also organize events or sell products like shirts or clothes, or even have a membership fee. I'm just curious, from your vantage point, what obviously you haven't thought about this in depth, but I'm just curious from your vantage point what the value of that could be for somebody who's about to go to chiropractic school, and we're trying to structure this experience where they're starting something new in a community, and they're trying to grow something that is obviously unfamiliar to the community because they're bringing it to the community, which is a pre-chiro club.
Well, if I was on a college campus and I'm doing my undergrad and I wanted to start a pre-chiro club, I would start by visiting 6, 8, 10 chiropractors surrounding my campus and my community. I would find a practice that I thought was really inspiring. And I would ask that doctor if he or she would come and share what it's like to become a chiropractor. And I would have an event. I'm just thinking about right now, if somebody came to me and said, Dr. Lloyd, I'm at the University of Washington, and we've got a pre-chiro club. Would you come and speak to us? I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. And what I would do is I would come and I would share wonderful chiropractic stories, because I think the beauty of chiropractic, the reason that people still practice in their 80s and in their 90s, even when they don't have to, is because chiropractic is gorgeous, and to be able to contribute to people's lives is so important. So I would have a really good chiropractor come and share his or her experience on campus. And as far as t-shirts and merch, doing merch, I don't know about that. I've never thought about that part. But if somebody has that type of initiative, I can tell you that they're probably going to be a very, very successful chiropractor.
And I'm just also going to throw this one out as a prompt for you. If we were creating a prompt for students who had gone through that fourth stage and started a pre-chiro club, and stage 3 is the pre-chiro apprentice, so they visited 10 offices and done observations and had experiences. And stage 2 was skill set building, so they've explored the different skill sets of chiropractors and started to practice on a fundamental level, how to be a better scientist, thinker, artist, teacher, entrepreneur. And then stage 1 is just the foundations, exploring what chiropractic is, why people become chiropractors. Stage 5, though, is a capstone project, independent study. People can go in any direction they want. I'm just curious if anything comes to you that you think would be worthy for a student to explore for 3 to 6 months on their own time, in their own way, that maybe connects the dots for them and allows them to enter into chiropractic school with something that they did in undergrad that they could really stand on, or that builds momentum for them, so it kind of sets the tone. Anything come to mind that you would give as a capstone project for students to engage in and work on their own?
Sure. I would learn how to be a public speaker. They say that the number one fear in the United States is not death, but it's public speaking. And somebody who knows how to speak in front of a group, somebody who knows how to get their ideas formulated and how to teach. And there's gobs of great information on that. And I would also think that you could attach yourself to a chiropractic practice. One of the things you could do is volunteer, or get a job as an external marketer working on helping educate patients on behalf of a chiropractic practice. Now, that's not independent study, but that would give you some structure. And but learning how to do public speaking. Just recently, a friend of mine, in fact, a good friend, and also somebody who works with me here as a senior consultant at 5-Star, Dr. George Birnbach, who's just been had wonderful training in public speaking and is a great speaker, very, very talented. He just did his first TED Talk and was voted the #1 speaker in his group. And if you know how to formulate your ideas and you know how to speak persuasively, you are going to be head and shoulders above most everybody else. Now, since public speaking is a fear for most people, I've got this great quote, and this is from Eleanor Roosevelt, who was married to, she was the first lady for President Roosevelt during World War II. And she said, "Face the things you fear the most, and the death of fear is certain." So you have to have, I believe, a vision to pull you forward through that process. And that would be having a great chiropractic practice where you get a chance to help people, have a great time doing it, and make a good living. I hope that helps.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for that. In your personal experience right now, I'm curious, what's up for you as far as how you're choosing to show up for the profession? Is it continuing to show up in the same way that you have for years, or are you morphing your approach because you've become more interested in certain groups or certain people or certain initiatives? I'm just curious, like, where you're at today And also, if you could end that with like anything that's bubbling up for you as far as the next 5 to 10 years, anything that you're interested in participating in or contributing to for the profession or not for the profession.
Well, first of all, I loved my practice. I had a huge, wonderful, great practice. I say this, I love my practice, and my practice loved me back. And then I had a career-ending injury. I was skiing in Sun Valley, and I crashed badly. I ended up blowing 2 discs in my neck. I had to get out of active practice. A neurosurgeon said that I was supposed to have a bilevel fusion, 5-6-6-7C. I chose not to do that. But I was also the chiropractors who were taking care of me, and another doctor said, "Noel, you just can't practice, at least not for now." So what I started to do is I had a decision to make. What was I going to do? And I had a new wife, a new baby, and a new house. And so I decided that I would really learn about chiropractic practice. I would study the mechanics, and I would study also developing associate chiropractors. So what I have been doing for the last, 40 years is I have been developing associates at Sound Chiropractic Center, developing 70 plus associates, developing my skills and coaching there. And then I started a management company, 5-Star Management. And most often people would get in touch with me in the first few decades because they needed new patients. And I was really, really good at producing new patients through external marketing. So I would train doctors in doing what I call chiropractic outreach or chiropractic missionary work, taking the chiropractic message into the community in about 5 or 6 different ways and producing large numbers of new patients that would build really, really big practices. If you're going to have a lot of associates, you have to be good at marketing. And 5-Star Management started to change more and more and more. I was dealing with larger, successful practices, and they needed help. And so I started to work at teaching people what I knew about finding and developing associates inside the win-win model. The old associate model works like this. I've got these goals. Come work for me so I can reach my goals. Here's your paycheck. Get busy. And the win-win model is totally different. And that is, we both want to be world-class chiropractors. So I'm going to teach you what I know. And while working for me, you're going to help as many people, have as much fun, and make as much money as you want. And that goal is motivating for the associate and for the clinic owner. So I love teaching that. Every single week, I do a mastermind Zoom where I have about 36 clients, which is a small percentage of the people that I coach, but a really, really good active group. And we talk about how to become better clinic directors, better associate coaches, how to be better business people so that we can have low stress business and develop associates, and what to do with our associates at different levels of different success. So for me, and when you say the next 10 years, I don't know that I'll be doing this 10 years from now. I mean, I love it, and I'll continue to do it as long as I can string sentences together, right? I hope my brain holds up. But I want to teach my next successful chiropractor who loves chiropractic, who loves his patients, her patients, who loves their team, who needs help. I'll teach that person how to be a really, really good developer of chiropractic associates. It's a program that's called discipleship or apprenticeship, mentorship, someone to be an advocate. Now, Last weekend, I flew at my own expense to Life College in Marietta. I paid not only my own way, but I wasn't a graduate of Life College. I was a Palmer graduate. There wasn't Life College when I graduated. And I sat at dinner tables, and I sat at lunch tables, and I spoke to prospective students. And I said to one young woman, her name was Katie, I said, I paid my own way. I don't work for the school. I don't make any money if you sign up here, but I'm here as an advocate on behalf of chiropractic in one of the best schools I know to encourage you and to tell you you should become a chiropractor. We need passionate, wonderful chiropractors who understand that life comes from above down, inside out, that the power that made the body heals the body. And I told her, I said, if you get there in time, if you find the subluxation, if you make the correction, if you keep people in correction, you are going to see miracles. You're going to have a practice that's exciting for you. I'm not saying that that practice isn't work, and I'm not saying that it's all excitement, but it is probably one of the most worthy things that you can do with your life.
That's how I feel.
Yes.
I'm right there with you. I think that, tell me if I'm wrong, but even up until this point, there's never been an initiative directed at the pre-chiropractic studies, at the outreach college campuses, like from a third party. It's being done by admissions departments from different chiropractic schools, but never from individuals who are like, wow, I had no idea this was even a path. I love it. I'm having a great time. My life is amazing. And I just want other people to know that this is an option. I think that if we're honest with ourselves, the potential of chiropractic is not even close to being reached, mainly because we're not asking the best questions. I think the best questions are like, what would it look like to start chiropractic in a new country where it doesn't currently exist yet? How would we even do that, right?
Yes.
And I think that pre-chiropractic is the vehicle to contextualize the path, start training people on the path, and then obviously, you know, with these new Google glasses, you put the AR on, you can like potentially even teach adjusting, you know, movement at least through the glasses. But I'm just planting seeds, but this is a conversation that I keep trying to have with the leaders of our profession, because I think that if I don't have these conversations, they're not being had. And I just gotta say that, you know, I love where you're coming from. What you've done is incredible. Obviously, you don't need anybody to tell you that. You've experienced an amazing and extraordinary life, helping other chiropractors, helping people as a chiropractor, writing books, on and on. But like our newer generations, the younger generations, you just don't see a lot of opportunities being given to shine a light on the newer ideas or the things that are really needed to be supported. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not the only one with new ideas, and I'm not the only one with ideas, but I see you nodding your head when I talk about this pre-chiropractic thing and starting chiropractic in other countries, and it's like people love chiropractic in our profession, but it doesn't seem like we have a lot of solutions being promoted that people can get behind that are like new and also not that far off from like, let's stay true and remain connected to the roots and the foundation and the identity, but also build outward. So just putting it out there that, yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a great idea. One of the things I've told my clients again and again, there's an idea that I came up with about 3 or 4 years ago. In fact, I think it was during COVID. I said, you have patients that have children and grandchildren, and that you should say, or could say to those patients with children or grandchildren, I love my life and we need good chiropractors. Have your sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, have they ever considered chiropractic? And then my first idea was to have a Zoom class, and that you could have patients that have wonderful chiropractic stories, that I would recruit those patients. I would say, Jane, you've got a great story, or John, I love your story. Would you share your chiropractic story with prospective chiropractors? And then I will tell people what my day-to-day is like. And I think that it would be very attractive. You could also get in touch with guidance counselors at high schools and say, I'm going to have a Zoom class, or I'm going to have a live class now in my clinic on this particular time. And I'm going to discuss what chiropractic is all about. And you can develop a relationship. You can develop a relationship with a particular chiropractic college. Now, chiropractic colleges they have recruiters, because they want to put a lot of people in the chiropractic college, because the larger the college, the more successful the college. That's the way that works. But I'm talking about individual chiropractors who could be men and women that would be promoting the profession, promoting future associates, future interns, future associates, and likely somebody who would transition into the ownership of a practice, so you could grow your own buyer. So I think your pre-chiropractic program is a great idea. Before you and I talked about this, Ben, I'd never even thought about it.
Yeah, the three biggest subluxations, I just love to bounce this off of you really quickly. The three biggest subluxations in our profession, I think, is absence of pre-chiropractic education, or at least an educational pathway that has continuity. So there's like checkpoints or touchstones where it keeps building on itself, like throughout your pre-chiro, continues through your chiro student, continues into your pro-chiro, your professional chiropractor. Let's keep building on what we worked on previously, so that it feels like you're, and then this second part is tied to that, which is mentorship that's unique to each step and stage of the process. So a conversation with a fourth stage pre-chiro student is much different than a ninth stage professional chiropractor, obviously. Different needs, different mindset. So mentorship, having there be opportunities for chiropractic students to mentor pre-chiropractic students, or for professional chiropractors to mentor chiropractic students or pre-chiropractic students. I think mentorship is a huge place where we could invest more as a profession. I know it exists. Obviously, you're doing it and other people are doing it, but it tends to be like you have to hear about it from somebody, or they will have had to have heard you in a podcast like this and then found your book and then reached out to you. So there's a number of steps before they actually even find a mentor that aligns with what their interests are. And then the third step is an ecosystem of information that connects every different service or offering or different subspecialty within the profession all into one sort of learning platform, where if I'm interested in animal chiropractic, I quickly identify these are the 5 animal programs, these are the mentors that specialize in animal chiropractic practices, and these are the different tools or technologies that have been developed to serve that subspecialized population. You kind of get what I'm saying here, is like, there's so many different types of chiropractors, as you know. Even the associateship thing, you've broken it down to a science, and yet we could go out on a limb and say 80% of chiropractic students want to be associates, but they probably are not aware of more than 10 to 20% of this language and science that you've created to help build context and build win-win relationships. So anyway, those are the three things: education, mentorship, and like an ecosystem that supports itself, right? Because our whole philosophy is that whole connection that needs to be restored, and like the brain or the schools and the organizations like yours, or the political organizations, or the different certifications or training programs, and the cells or the tissues are the students and the people that want to support others but don't know how to, or want to access resources but don't know where they are. So anyway, those are the three big ones for me. As we wrap up here, I want to be aware of your time, but I'm just looking to get some feedback on that before we wrap up. Sorry about that.
I think that you've thought about it and that you have it well structured in your mind. I think somebody listening here, if they're asking themselves, what do I do? They probably have a way to get in touch with you. People who are interested in the win-win philosophy from the clinic director standpoint, how do I provide a win-win associateship where the associate stays motivated and gives his or her best? Or if a prospective associate, a student, wants a internship, they can find an internship in a win-win clinic where people have special training. So they can find that at winwindc.com. And then everybody just tell the message. And I think the most attractive thing about chiropractic is the miracle of chiropractic care. I'm a chiropractor today because of what chiropractic did for me and how it impressed my father and how it impressed me. And I continue to do what I do because of what I see chiropractic do. So tell the story.